Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there. Welcome back.
Welcome back, guys. We got a couple more days on our suspension for a strike on Evolutionary, so we've been posting on EEARTS pretty much every day, and also on Heart's Home as much as we can get out there, and on Patreon. And so there's been Patreon-only material. Now, all the videos go up on Patreon, but now there's the ability to directly upload to their server, so we can put some up there and speak a little bit more freely. At least so far, we've been able to speak a little more freely.
I know. I've been. It's like touch and go, hoping that we don't get in trouble some way. You know, a lot of people can get away with a lot of things, but we're special.
So yeah, we've had 2 flares in the last, I don't know, maybe 16 hours or so. And this one was a M-class 5.7 flare, a little bit stronger. So there's 2 that came off as they are going to end up probably merging into one. And I love this term they do, cannibal coronal mass ejection to hit Earth Tuesday. Well, what it is the first one was smaller and it's traveling slower, and the second one that came right after, it's bigger, traveling faster, so they will end up merging and hitting us. And again, this is all about consciousness, as we see. It's consciousness, and it's also the consciousness of the planet, and it also increases the chance of earthquake and volcanic activity as well. As you see a proton event here, the Earth is currently experiencing a 10 MeV proton event from the M6 flare that occurred earlier this morning. You know, when we look at, as you can see that big spike there, so we could see the space weather conditions, 24-hour observed maximums. We had a R2 moderate, an S1, and a G1. And when you look at this, the radio blackout impacts happen quickly compared to the other aspects over here. The S1, the solar radiation storm impacts, was minor, and G1, geomagnetic storm impacts, these typically come a little bit later. The radio blackout right away. As we see at the moment, the latest, we still have an S1 minor solar radiation storm. We're now in the green with the other 2. But, it's waking up. It's waking up quite a bit. As we look at these different sunspot regions, the ones in the red are more active. So we can see, there's getting to be more and more red all the time. And this is the events that we just saw. So getting closer to an X class. And, of course, the X class are the ones that can impact us the most. But they all do impact us, and this is what the guides have said. We don't need to have a direct hit Earth facing to have the changes to our consciousness occur.
Oh no, not at all. And I'm one who really feels these, and wanting to do maybe a special Heart's Home video, understanding what's really going on with our consciousness, because I think it's important. I'm one of those who likes to know. I like to really know, not just read it where somebody tells me something, but I like to go digging and figure it out and know what's going on. But yeah, I mean, I don't talk about it too much, like my personal life and traumas, but I do have some PTSD, and I definitely feel it. When this is going on, I have a lot of anxiety. So I'm purging a lot of past issues, and that shows itself in the form of anxiety. And it's definitely a lot worse now, where a lot of things are coming up, and that's okay. You just sort of want to kind of sit with it and welcome it, whereas in the past I just wanted to push it away, but now I sit with it, and it's okay. It's just, you need your friends sometimes. It's good.
Absolutely. And this is all about letting go. It really, really is. It's all about letting go in order to allow something new to come. And that's the same thing for the entirety of the planet. And we have to, and most of us that are listening to this will gladly let go of the system that's in place. Goodbye. Later. Don't want to ever see those WE, and you know what the last letter is, anagrams anymore. So it was an M2.7 and an M5.7, and we'll keep watching that. So, there's been quite a bit of activity down along the Mexico coastline. We have a 5.6 currently. This has picked up a little bit. It's still not a lot of quakes, though. And it's still very, very quiet overall. Very quiet. Too quiet. And it does definitely give the impression of building towards a major event. So as you can see, this is in Missouri. You got hail the size of tennis balls that hit. The weather has obviously been extreme. We have the smoke pollution coming back into the U.S. from the Canadian wildfires. And at the moment, the bulk of the wildfires have moved more westward, but it's still impacting the same area. So, this is, again, something there's a layered effect going on right now attacking people's health. It's layered. There's so many different aspects to it. It's not just one thing. Again, it's obviously the air that we're breathing. It's the food that we're eating. It's the water. How magnetic is your water? That black goo stuff we've been talking about for years now. Look at these dark states here. These are the ones that you have to be very concerned with as far as the quality of the air from the Canadian fires. So again, it's that same tier. It's that same grouping of states again that are going to be facing this. And of course, we wish everybody the best. We need to be at our peak. We need to be at as healthy a point as we can be, mind, body, spirit. So, just in our typical fashion, we set up the video, then we went and did mantras to try to clear the way for the video to reach and to give the message that it's supposed to give. Scientists sound alarm over unheard of conditions off the coast of England. We could see mass mortality. Scientists are worried that an El Nino prolonged ocean heat up off the coast of England and Ireland will result in massive death tolls for sea life, along with terrible outcomes. So, the water over there is 70 degrees, which is pretty comfy compared to what it typically is, and at least that's what they're telling us. I haven't dipped my toes in the North Sea or the Atlantic off of there. But, again, it's the case where we can't take anything for granted. We don't know unless we go and, put our own thermometer in for ourselves and see it ourselves. I won't trust anything that's coming across the news. You always kind of weigh it. You gotta weigh it.
Mm-hmm. Everything these days, because the media makes it so. And they have proven in the past that, putting out mass amounts of media and getting people riled up or getting people afraid, one of our biggest things that we have against us is the feeling of fear, and actually bringing that fear into our being. We have to learn how to experience energies without taking it on ourselves. And that takes some practice. And it also takes to know what the system is doing. So usually once you know better, you can do better.
So they say, this was just another meteor fireball. This was over Mississippi, actually a big area, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Texas. Big spread. And again, they always look the same to me. They hit me like ships hitting hyperspeed and taking on off. And I wouldn't doubt, as part of disclosure, that we'll have some admission to that. Meanwhile, there's a mysterious disease prompting checks on flights from North African country. Russia's ramped up health tests on arrivals from Egypt after Cairo reported an outbreak of an unidentified illness, which is given typical flu symptoms. 250 cases were registered in this Upper Egypt area. It doesn't appear to be too serious, but that's at least at the moment. As we know, you just never know what's out there. You don't know if that guy is organic or if he's made of some sort of alloy, as we were covering yesterday. Yeah, fever, joint pains, fatigue, lasting 3 to 5 days. Could cover so much. But again, what will be released? As we know, the Gilbates of the world, where they venture, chaos always ends up coming later. Millions may be at risk. Houston hit with alarming syphilis outbreak. And then there was another tweet too that said the end of AIDS by 2030. Could it be? Well, it's almost as if a massive segment of the entire globe now has that. So maybe that will be gone and they're just replacing the label, and it's just a travesty what is done to humanity and all the animals and plants and birds and fish on the planet, because obviously the control system, it just doesn't have any compassion.
No, and look at this, once again attacking pregnancy in a very huge way and the very ability to reproduce. And, what's more is, where do these things come from? I mean, people are having so many ouchies these days. How do we know they're not just planting it in that? And you don't really need to do anything to end up sick, or if there's like these things wafting down from the sky and you breathe them in. I mean, that's where we're at now. We're at a place where we really need to pay attention to our immune system and build that thing every single chance we get. And we're lucky right now because we really have ample opportunity and we have the ability to go out and work on our immune system while things are still fairly free flow. I mean, if we want to. It does take a lot of research, it takes some practice, it takes some know-how, but gosh, there's no better time than right now to work on the immune system.
Yeah, absolutely. And that may, for many people, depending again according to your health conditions and situation, means some sort of fasting, whether it's intermittent fasting or water fasting, juice fasting. It's so important that we're constantly cleaning out our system because there's so many toxins. It's just that simple. There's more toxins than we've been exposed to in our lives at this point in time. And so we got to constantly be getting rid of them. And when your body has not taken in food, it takes about 12 hours. It starts to happen. 16 hours, you start to get a real good cleansing effect. The first cells that your body breaks down are cells that are not healthy. So yeah, cancerous cells would be one of the first things that your body would be breaking down when you give yourself 16 hours without eating. One of the things I find to be the easiest, and on the days that I do it consistently, I always feel the best, is when I wait to eat until like around 5 or 6 p.m. and then just eat between 5 and 8, something like that. Give it like this is a little bit more advanced. It's good if you could start out with a 16-hour window and then work up to 18 hours of fasting, and then maybe go for 20 or even 22. You can give the body a chance to start breaking down the toxic cells. And when we look at everything that we've been taught, 3 square meals a day, spread maybe so many hours apart, 6 hours apart or whatever, 4, 5, 6 hours apart, and healthy snacks. What happens is that the body never has a chance to go and clean out those cells. And thus, what do we see? We see cancer rates ever increasing. It's so much of it. And, adult onset diabetes is completely lifestyle and food. It's all our lifestyle and food. It's sitting in front of the computer. It's not moving. It's eating processed foods. It's eating too much simple sugars, high fructose corn syrup. You got to wonder, supersize me. It's only 20 more cents. Yeah, it's Russian roulette.
It really is, and it's so unfortunate. And going organic is really critical and it's key. And I can understand people don't always have access to the organic. I do understand that the organic is expensive. But if you're going up against the big C, then I mean, organic, it's a lot cheaper to go organic than to have to go through that. I mean, it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I will see some people say, well, nothing's organic these days. Yeah, but it probably has a little less poisonous attributes to it than that which we know is genetically modified and laden with pesticides. So, even it's always about limiting the exposure to the toxins. Massive U.S. oil caverns are now empty. Will take decades to refill. Yeah, and it's so easy to see what's going on, and I would encourage people, if you haven't done it, I've given thought to taking the time to go through videos that we've done going back years, and kind of doing a little compilation, because for those of you like our dear brother Keith up in Rhode Island, he will say, you guys have been just so dead on. It's kind of crazy. I think we have been, and that's because it's not really us. We're getting this information from the higher densities and sharing with you guys. When you look at this playlist, this one right here, where it looks like Lady Liberty is crying, that came across in January of 2018, and that was saying that everything that you're seeing right now, we knew was coming. We knew it all was coming. I've known this going back to the 80s, literally. Not exactly how it was going to play down, and I was wrong with the timing, because I really thought we would have been here earlier. It really wasn't until I got with my beautiful, wonderful, perfect wife, perfect for me, and her ability to connect to the guides has brought so much clarity, even though they will never give us, well, only one time they gave us a definitive, well, twice they've given us some timelines that are really that, timelines. Most of the time they will not, say, hey, you're going to have this happen in this amount of time. So being with Cindy and being able to talk directly to the guides instead of getting flashes that I've gotten since childhood of just seeing a scene, and then you have to kind of figure out, what did I see, which can be misinterpreted. Alois Ermiler, great guy. We love Ali. He's one of our guides now. And this is part of what we can all do, is like, if you feel a kinship, if you feel any sort of drive or curiosity with anybody from the past, you can connect to them. Now, even if you can't hear them, you can connect to them, and you may get information from them in your dreams and your meditations. Ali would stare at his palm, and I could relate to that too, because when we gaze, and gazing, like gazing at a candle, is one of Cindy's favorite meditative techniques. And I've done it in the past. I've constructed black mirrors back when I was really, this like 25, 30 years ago, when I was delving so deep into meditation and making myself do like 2 hours of meditation a day, even when I was still working a 10-hour shift at a corporate job. You could gaze at a mirror, you could gaze at the palm of your hand, you can look at a candle, you could look at the sky, and it doesn't matter. It's all about brainwave activity and shifting out of your normal conscious pattern to a point where you can be receptive and start to actually hear things. This is what they don't want you doing. They don't want you hearing anything but their narrative. So again, don't trust anything but what we tell you. Yeah, this is where that age is ending, because that time is gone. We can see for ourselves now. We can develop these techniques that that we can utilize to know. It's that direct experience that the Gnostics talked about, which got them boiled in oil, got them drawn and quartered, got them exterminated, got all their books, wiped out. And again, we're not Gnostic, but the Gnostics had a hell of a lot more close to reality than the fundamentalist mind that came along and, gave us the Crusades and the Inquisition, and then the taking over of all the indigenous lands here in the Americas, and it goes on and on and on. Yeah, there are many techniques you can utilize to develop your own ability to connect to your guides, because they're there, whether you acknowledge them or not. They're there, and they want to help. Again, we all have what we would call guardian angels.
We do, and it does take time and patience to connect with them. But again, time is going to go by whether you try to connect or not. So if you want to connect, it's about putting in the time, putting in the effort, getting yourself good and grounded right here where you're at. And then a lot of people wonder, well, if I get these abilities, well, what do I do with them? You apply them to your 3D world. You apply them to things that you need answers to. Are you going to get answers for everything? No, you're not supposed to get answers for everything, but you can utilize them to help guide you through this very chaotic world we're in.
Yeah, and we personally don't recommend any sort of substances that are mind-altering. Not at all. The only mind-altering substance that we would recommend would be meditation, yoga, qigong, tai chi, things along those lines. Especially in these times, it's too dangerous to open yourself up to these dark forces, because demonic possession is real. It's very, very real. And the unfortunate reality is probably most people don't even realize that they've been possessed at one time or another. And anybody that is following the system and opening themselves up by taking in chemically altering substances is literally putting themselves at risk. And, again, you guys understand what we're talking about. We have not indoctrinated ourselves into the system, so we are absolutely not MDs. And as I've said before, I'm very glad for that, because that's a little bit of indoctrination that we haven't had and haven't had hammered into our consciousness to cause conflict. What you see here, we got 20 days of emergency reserves left as far as oil. 20 days. Okay, this is purposeful. It's not that Biden is an idiot. I'm not going to debate that. Either way, it's part of the plan. Again, you really can't go into a Vegas casino and think you're going to come away winning. You might have a lucky go. You might have a lucky night. You might catch that intuitive thing that says, you know what? Walk away right now. You actually won something. Well, again, the house always wins, and it's rigged. This is rigged. The U.S. and NATO have been set up for a fall. This just tells you we've gotten that. We're running out of rockets. We're running out of bullets. We don't have oil. This means that when the conflict comes, it's going to be pretty quick. I do think it's going to be shorter than WW2. And Cindy doesn't even see it as a conflict. She sees it like a complete takeover. And part of that might be because her vibes are higher where she can't see conflict. But at the same time, I don't think it's going to last long because, hey, the fighter's been paid off. Taking a dive. Plain and simple.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the way I see it, I look at our technology that we have, and we're so intertwined. And I've been hearing from family members that, just to get a TV, you have to go through the whole process of putting in your email and da-da-da-da-da, just to get your so-called smart TV to work, and internet. They want to know, like, how many pets you have. I mean, they want to know everything. So really, all the information is there, and I think, if we allow it, it will be a pretty simple handoff because we're already going to be tied in. So we have to be loose enough in the system where we can work with other people and other people can work with us and do something a little bit different than what they expect. You know, they expect us to just keep falling in line with this thing in life that's called technology, and just pour ourselves deeper and deeper and deeper into technology so that they have a good grasp off of what you're doing. So we need to, you know, take that away, or at least recognize it and don't go any further deeper in the hole.
So you have a Second National Bank pulls out of cash in Australia, and you can see they're moving forward. Commonwealth Bank scraps cash withdrawals and deposits. Yeah. No, it's close. It's close. But again, the war happens first, and then there's the new financial system. They need the war because they got to clear out, the remnants of the old, and it's only going to happen through the act of the war. But the war, again, is very close. Yes, we can argue it's underway already, obviously. And, you have a lot of different psyops going on. Here you have an American detained by North Korea after he crossed the DMZ without permission, identified as a U.S. soldier, Travis King. Some say he was acting very weird, too. Well, yeah, there's technologies out there. How magnetic is your blood? That's the question. Baltimore considers investing billions to address 14,000 vacant homes. Wow. Well, if you look at the backside of these homes, there's not much there. Yeah. The inner cities have really deteriorated in so many ways. Look at this peak over here in 1950. I still have these visions of Leave It to Beaver and all that. We were sold something, the great American dream. And you could see the cities, these big, big cities, so many of them, the population has decreased. The only one that the population is actually higher right now is New York from 1950. That's it. All these other big cities, Detroit, St. Louis, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Baltimore, Chicago, Philly, Boston, Milwaukee, I am like a history buff, and I've been in Boston. It's been years, so I couldn't tolerate any big city. I can't tolerate a town of 10,000 at this point in time energetically. So yeah, I wouldn't do well. But I do have fond memories of seeing some historic points in Boston. I've been through most of these cities. Pittsburgh, great restaurants. Wow, really good restaurants in Pittsburgh. And of course, some of the best pizza you can get in New York City. But, people are not buying what they've been selling. And so they're selling the urban lifestyle, and they're going to have to nudge people into it. This is the bottom line. And this is what's going on right now. This is the great nudge, followed by... I don't know what comes after nudging. Just dragging people in, I guess. Non-human intelligence. Chuck Schumer proposes stunning new UFO legislation. Yeah, you have people in Congress, congressmen saying, you can't handle the truth. The American people can't handle the truth. We're going to have to be gentle telling them the situation. Most people can't handle the truth, really. And just the realization, and they're not even telling you, the fact that you live on a planet that's been used as a resource and is still being used as a resource. You are viewed as a resource. They're not going to go that far, but they are letting us know that, yeah, absolutely. UFOs, there is a reality there. There are biological beings. There are all sorts of different beings, non-human intelligences. Why? And the next one is key here. I got a pretty clear idea of what the government knows. There is a constraint of time. Yes, they know that. This is it. This is, again, what we've talked about. We've talked about treaties running out in 2025. We've talked about, obviously, a major agenda in 2030. And then we've talked about the giants returning in 2035 and actually overseeing the smart cities with like one of the Anunnaki representatives overseeing the humans, overseeing the smart cities. Because again, the world is going to be, and it is in the process of dividing. This is what this picture is all about. You got a choice. Become part of the AI Borg, live in the smart cities, or recover the old ways, live in a more tribal existence. You could think of it as, if it makes you more comfortable, instead of the way that the indigenous Americans were living here, the natives, look to the Amish too. It could be that simple, where we are all kind of in these clusters of like-minded people working together, and bartering and trading, not going down the digital route. Again, yes, for those that have been able to utilize crypto to their advantage, well, bravo for you. Good. I hope it has situated you with what you need to get yourself as self-sufficient as possible. But recognize they will pull the plug on everything that's not an official part of the system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, keep in mind that they've been planning this for a long time, too. So they know a lot of, they already understand and know what people are going to do and how they're going to react, because this is cycles upon cycles, and the controllers have all the information. But for us, since we did choose to be born with amnesia, well, we have to be, mindful as well. And we have to consider what are our moves going to be also. So it's about really, in some way, helping one another, leaning into one another, looking at situations, people and things, and trying to figure out, how can I help? Rather than how can I, get to be king of the hill? How can I step on this person and get higher? How can I compete just to win? We have to turn that little knob a little bit more. I mean, we're close to there. We're getting there. We have the understanding of what we need to do. And keep in mind, we are resources for them. We really are. And the biggest resource that we hold for them is our emotions. So if we are not in control of our emotions, and we see something on the screen and we get very angry, and we start to go out and bully and bulldoze people because we are angry, then you are handing your most precious, valuable resource over to them. Now, if you see something, you take that anger and you put it into maybe your garden, you put it into yourself, you put it into learning a skill. Can you imagine how great and wonderful you could be? I know Mike has learned a lot of things. He's taken his energy, he's been able to channel and do some really wonderful, awesome things, because my husband is absolutely perfect and wonderful in every way.
Perfectly flawed. Here you have another former FEW member just saying, the ultimate goal is exactly what we've all been told. The old California Highway Patrol under the skin. Yeah, you guys remember that show.
Yep.
And they say the technology was ready a long time ago. They've delayed the agenda. Yeah, again, it's all about making people as docile as possible. The zombie apocalypse, it really is. We could see it. Mother Nature's always trying to teach us her ways, and they are always trying to supplant her. They want us to be happy, docile worker bees. Again, there's many people out there that have instinctively not bought into the system, known that there's just something wrong with this. And then there's others, that don't see anything wrong at all. But if we look to the earth and the way that nature is, there's a biblical phrase that says, why do you worry about, what you're going to eat and your shelter and all these things? Don't you see the birds, every day they're as happy as can be. They know they're going to be taken care of. There is obviously a truth there, and it's about having our frequency in tune with Mother Nature. When our frequency is in tune with her, we instinctively know, just like the animals do, that say an earthquake is coming, they get out of the area. They can sense bad weather coming, they get themselves ready before it even comes. All that has been disconnected from humanity, but all that is being rewired through the light. This is why they want to block the sun. They don't want us having the gnosis. And again, that's the knowing that's experiential. It's different. They want us trusting facts and figures, only utilizing the left side of the brain. They don't want us actually knowing anything besides what they tell us. And they want us to mimic them because, in reality, the controllers, they're not happy. Money never buys you happiness. How many miserable billionaires are out there? Probably every single one of them is miserable when you get down to it.
It's one thing that they really thrive off of is that need for control. It's like their drug. That's what feeds them. They have to control everything that's going on. And it's up to us to take control back of our own selves and get in touch with our own selves and know that what's going to be our next move, and then go forward with that understanding. But it definitely is something that we all have access to, is finding that voice within and turning that dial up so we can hear it a little bit clearer.
Absolutely. So again, we want to thank you guys for your support over on Patreon, also on Ko-Fi. Much love. Stay prepared out there. Keep putting out the positive vibrations. God bless and namaste.
Namaste.